Yeah, you'll have to get your wife to witness that next.
No, honey. Oh, no. And the override, you didn't even order it in for me.
Again?
What?
I'll tell him. I'll tell him on Wednesday.
What do you do with your spare 5 minutes?
Think they're done pretty good? I think they're done pretty good.
Hi there.
Some kind of law, everybody's not like order.
Oh,
We're going to be shutting the lights off so that we can see slides. So if everybody wants to find a seat before we do that.
We got a couple outside there yet. Oh, there's 2 more. They just hold on a little bit.
So welcome to Phoenix Night. My name's Linda Karen. I've been helped with this presentation by a number of people, and I want to acknowledge some of them. Boyd Hardwick and Bill Durham especially for phoning, for being out there, for spreading the word. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited. I have all these wonderful slides that people have provided me with pictures, and we put them together into a slideshow. And I know very little about the history, and you guys know the story, and we're looking forward to having you tell it to us tonight. Before we start, if you worked at Phoenix, will you stand up?
Boy, just working on.
When this is done, several people have asked if at the end of the evening we could get any of the Phoenix employees together up at the front to get a photograph of you all. So I'll remind you at the end. Boyd is going to help me run through these slides, and I guess we need the lights. Can you do that, George? The Boundary Museum, John Kemp, Bill Wilkinson, Neil Church, and Ross McArthur. And some of you probably aren't going to be happy with some of Ross's photographs. He's got some pretty incriminating ones coming up. We're going to focus on the modern years at Phoenix. I just put a few slides in, a few pictures from the old days, and Jim Kermeen is going to come and give us a few tidbits of wisdom from the old days at Phoenix. Jim worked at Phoenix from 61 to 68, I think, as mine engineer, and then as manager and mine supervisor? Superintendent?
Superintendent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Supermarket.
Oh, I'll send it to Karen too.
Thanks, Linda. You'll have to excuse my voice. It came on this afternoon. They're telling me it's nerves. I don't think so. I think it's a cold. Anyway, I'll talk a little bit about the old days because it was a very famous mine. It was discovered in the 1890s, put into production in 1900 and ran 19 years till 1919. And at that time, it was it was a large underground mine for that time, about 6,000 tons a day, and that was the largest copper mine in the British Empire at that time. It's small by our standards now, and it was a very innovative mine, very famous for its mining innovations. It was one of the first mines in the world to have become electrified completely underground, and it was. There were new methods of bulk mining underground were developed there. One called spiral stoping, where they drove a long tunnel up in a spiral and then drilled off it and dropped stuff down the middle. And it was a very inexpensive way of mining. In the early part of the operation, they did square set stoping, which means that you put timbers in to support the ground after you took the ore out. And of course, when we were running Phoenix in the next phase, we often had timber coming in from the mine with the ore, and we had to devise special equipment to take it out. One of the things about the old operation that they're most famous for is the Granby car, and I'm going to ask George Stewart to give you a bit of a talk on that.
Yeah, then I can sit with it.
These are some of the early Granby cars. This is the one that was up at the cenotaph of Phoenix, and these are some of the more modern ones. And the next one. This is a little bit of background. This is an old picture of 1867. They're showing the steamer coming up the Columbia and transferring freight to the railways. When the Phoenix was really going, the railway went to Bossburg to about 65 miles from the Phoenix with wagon roads, and then in 1900 the railway was all the way in. This is what fueled it all, was the electrification of the world with tremendous demand for copper. This is the copper mines at Butte, Montana. They were in full steam around the time that the Phoenix was getting in, so this was say the northern extremity of the copper rush. This is how they first started mining. Again, this is in Montana, because I don't see too many pictures of the underground of the Victoria shaft. This is dropping a mule down. This is when they started to go to horse haulage. That's a mule in that part there. They drop them down. They spend their whole working life down in the bottom of the mine. This again is another picture of another spot, but this is what it looked like underground. Around 1905, they electrified, but before that it was hand tramming, pushing cars by hand, little one-ton cars like these, and then they would, I think it was 1903 or 4, they started putting horse haulage underground. But all the heavy work underground, they had to take a lot of waste out of the ground and a lot of ore, so they had to get a better technique of hauling. Underground haulage could make or break a mine. So the innovations in the Phoenix are quite a few, but one of the most interesting innovations is the design, develop, and manufacture of the Granby car. They first started out with small ones, and then with 5-ton, then they went to a 10-ton. This is the design. This is from the shops at the Phoenix in probably around 1906. This would be the 5-ton cars. These are the ones that they're self-dumping cars. This really sort of dropped their cost of hauling underground. You can see the ramp here. This is called a camelback. So the car would come by at a fair speed, and it would just hit this, tip it up, dump the ore, and the next one would close, and the next one would dump. And they're really nice to work. That design is really the Cadillac of underground mine cars. There's 6 types of cars, and the Granby car, side dump car, is listed as one of those 6 types in the world today. This is some of the work later on. These are the 10-ton cars in here. They were designed to dump a rock about 4 foot in diameter out the side. They have to remove a lot of waste. This is what they call the electric shovel pit. I think if you started researching this, you'd find that this was probably the first open pit mine in North America. They claim it's the bigger mine at it's Salt Lake City, Utah, but it looks like this was a little earlier. These are the cars, these are the 10-ton cars again, and this is the electric shovel in the pit in 1916. This is about the same time that they talk about the open pit mining going on in Utah. Next one. This is a modern ramp up at Smithers, what operation we have there. You can see here the camelback in here. A lot of times when you're dumping cars, they tend to go off, if there's mud in there, they tend to fall off the track. You see the little ball that dumps the cars gets caught in between here, so you can't really throw the car off. These are the normal V-dump cars. You see a lot of the mines, these ones, you heat them up like an ice cream cone, put your foot under and then tip them over. If you're not careful, you got a lot of muddy rock, the whole thing goes over the dump. It's quite common. This is a load of ore cars coming out, and this would be in probably the 80s. They come through here about faster than a man can walk and just dump the whole pile of muck down the trestle there. They're really nice. They're really a pleasure to work with. This is close up of one again. These are the card cars. They're made in, they're off the gold Granby design. This is them again. This would be the electric train. These are battery locomotives as opposed to the trolley locomotives they used in the Phoenix. And this is a whole string of cars in here. They come out pretty quickly. You know, it's pretty hard to talk about mining with an election coming up without making a little comment here. We were up in the late 70s. We were up at a mine up at Mosquito Creek around Wells, and I saw this on the door, one of the on the hoist shaft there. Next slide. Next slide. So if things don't work out, I guess we can always go back to some alternate sort of revenue.
Some kind of retirement.
This is a picture taken this July 1st weekend up in the Phoenix, and there was some people who got into the pit up there, and they were transporting this hockey gear bag full of marijuana buds, and this is one of the fellows that apprehended here. It was pretty exciting. He tried to swim across the pit there and almost froze to death.
Did you get a cut of that, George?
Well, there's more money in this little bust than was spent at the Bounty in the summer. So there you go. That's me.
Boyd, I'm going to get you to come up here and stand with me because you know more about these slides than I do. I just want to say that we want this to be very impromptu, and if anybody sitting out there has something they want to add when they see a slide, just stand up and start talking, come to the front and use the mic. We really want to hear your stories tonight. So this is 1946, before Phoenix started up the second time. You know, there's a lot of people say, oh, you know, the mine, when the pit went in, they took out the ghost town, but there really wasn't very much left. And down at the bottom, that's Mr. Banbury, who was the last resident of Phoenix up until the 50s, I believe.
Here we have a picture of the old Victoria shaft, and the lower picture shows it as it was when Granby first came back in 1956, and when that was dismantled, I understand that some of the longer timbers were taken down and removed and used in building a church down there. There's Noel Kirby peeking up from behind the ice schools. He took me on my first trip underground in Phoenix, and he almost lost me. The workings were so vast down there, you couldn't see the walls or the roof or anything. And if you didn't know the trails, you'd be there forever.
I think Bill needs to come up and tell us the story about melting ice.
Yeah.
Don't sit there looking at me. And surveying.
Oh, well, with all this ice, they had to have water for the Victoria shaft. So to get water, they had to melt the ice. And so they had to get an engineer, a steam engineer. And they got a man by John Schilloff. And he was the engineer, and they pumped the steam down to melt the ice. And his helper was, I forget the names now, Krabatov. And he had a son, which is in here, Nick. He also started around that time. And that's how they got water for the mill.
Okay, now tell us about fixing up the shaft. Well, maybe we have one more slide.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
well,
there's-
as they drew the water out, of course, the rungs of the ladder got exposed to air, and they had to be replaced. And there was a fellow that came from Vale, and me, George, we called him Buzz, George Clare. He was the carpenter, and he had to replace the rungs as the water went down.
This is just a few more pictures at the Victoria Shaft when Phoenix first started up again. Now this looks to me as if it's in the snowshoe pit. That's it, Jim? Yeah, this is the first open pit really that Phoenix started digging when they came back in 1956. And while they were working here, they were able to find enough ore other places on the property that justified carrying on with the operation.
Who did that blast? Is that you?
You don't think so?
Not enough rocks flying.
That's right.
Fox never flew up there. This is looking down from the south wall, down into the pit and over towards the plant area. And you can see here that the top of the pit wall, which is the south wall up there, is they're just starting to work on that again to take down another slice out of the north part of the south wall to deepen the pit.
Tell us about when the cat sank in the, is it the cat or the drill or something? Is it went down? Oh, no.
Are there any stories about losing drills in the pit? Jim, have you got something?
Yeah, I might just join you here. I might just say a word or two about the reopening of Phoenix. When the Grandy came back in to reopen it, they had just not too long before that, shut down Copper Mountain. They had a bunch of old mining equipment. It was still in pretty good shape, and old milling equipment, I should say. And but I came over, I came in 61, but this was back in 56 to 59 when they were reopening them. And even after it was there, we were still trying to drill it to see what was there, and there were so many holes in the place and so much caved rock, you just couldn't get any recovery. So the mill was started with old equipment from Allenby. I think the capital cost was $3 million to start the mill. Can you imagine a 700-ton mill for $3 million today? And what it actually was a big bulk sampling for the first 2 or 3 years of operation, and that proved that it was there, and then started to expand it, and eventually up to 2,400 tons a day. Anyway, carry on.
Here are just several views of the mill site itself.
What would they use this to?
What pipe is this for, Jim?
Well,
It wasn't up there this time.
in the initial operation, I'm not sure if these were for, I think these are air pipes. We were using the old compressors that came from the old operation, and one of them had a patent of 1896, and it was still running day after day without any trouble. We bought some modern compressors, and actually we're making air cheaper with those old ones. Old Ingersoll ran from 1896 than we were with the new ones. But in the initial operation, we were running pipelines out to the pit and ran small drills, air trap drills with them. Later on, of course, we bought modern compressors and we dragged them around for the drilling in the pit. Or we have track mounted big drills. I think that's what it was.
Jim, that was the time when Porsche cows used to knock down the line off the support.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Bill's reminding us of when Forshaw's cows knocked down our airlines and shut down the pit. Oh, there was another, that reminded me of another incident. We had drained the oil out of one of the shovels one day, and Forshaw's cows got in again and drank the oil. You can imagine what shape the pit was in within a few hours.
The mill was expanded several times by adding another ball mill or rod mill at the odd time. At the end, as Jim says, it started on 700 tons a day. Towards the end, we were putting through 2,600 roughly.
That's it.
Were those like down stage trucks?
Those were the original 10-ton trucks that Ivan McKay had contracted loading and hauling, and he had a 1.5-yard diesel shovel and 10-ton trucks. To put that in comparison, a lot of the big open pit mines now are using 300-ton trucks, and those were 10-ton trucks. So that's gives you an idea of the change in scale of mining.
I have a picture of the wall over here of a truck from a mine in Australia. It's well over 300 tons. It works the driver.
Can you tell those of us that don't remember Phoenix, what happened? The concentrate left and then went where?
Okay. After the ore went through the mill process took out the high-grade material and that was shipped by truck. It was trucked down to Vancouver and shipped to Japan for treatment. Some of it went to Tacoma, I think, too, towards the start of the operation.
Just by comparison with the original operation, flotation had not been invented when the original operation was going 1900 to 1919, and the ore was shipped directly right out of the mine down to the smelter here in Grand Forks. And you had two railway companies with full-scale railways competing for the business to haul the ore down here. That's good. We couldn't think about shipping direct ore of that grade to a smelter directly now. We have to concentrate it now 20 or 30 times with flotation. But in those days, even though the price of copper was very low in the first operation, it was still high compared to what it is now relative to the cost of land. Wages, I think, what was the cost in that original one? Do you remember? But I thought you had done that. I think it was about 8 to 15 cents or something per pound, which was a lot of money then because wages were about between $1 and $3 a day. So.
This is just one of the shovels that were used up at the mine. I did make a point a while ago here about Phoenix being one of the original open pit copper mines. According to the old reports, in 1903, the company had actually owned one small shovel and rented a couple of other small shovels from the CPR, and they were doing a little bit of mining right out the top of the hill. Back as early as 1903.
Sounds like someone drilling. Oh,
Is Joe here?
Frank Drake. Thanks, sir.
Do you get a
Is Frank
clear
here?
picture?
Right there.
Stand up, please. There's Frank.
I'll be able to use the PowerPoint presentation afterwards.
And Gary Basinski, I think he's passed on, but and Lloyd Iverson, Chuck Boss also was gone.
Yeah, those two are gone.
But there are a number of good stories about Lloyd Iverson, which we'll get to later on.
So there's a series of these pictures now. Can you tell us the story here?
Well, what they're doing here is putting together the bigger shovel there, which had a 5-yard bucket on it. And it's quite an operation to put it together. Sometimes you need 2 cranes to do it because there's such heavy components to it. Well, there's a symbol there.
Well, that's a bad day.
No, there's John.
That's John Kemp standing up on top, a younger John Kemp.
Bill Finley here operated the shovel for quite a while. Maybe he'd like to
Yeah,
Get
tell us something.
his impression of the shovel compared to the old Armstrong type.
Yeah, well, I started up there as on the smaller ones you've seen before, which were 1.5 yards, and then as they expanded, they went to this electric one, and it was just a Cadillac of machines. You sit in there with little levers about 3 or 4 inches long, your fingertips, and you were picking up hundreds of tons a day of rock. And it had a big cable, about 2 or 3 inch in diameter cable running to it right off the power lines. There was no diesel engine or anything to it, and it just ran hour after hour without breakdowns. It just
Not like the old machines. Yeah, we have this 10 cubic yard load haul dump machine. When it worked, it was a beautiful machine, but it broke down half the time. So quite a disaster, actually. As you can tell.
So, I don't know if anybody that's responsible for any of these is in the audience, but
Oh, you gotta speak here.
what happened there?
Well, this is a case of backing up too far before you come to load. What happens is that as you dump the load, the weight shifts to the back and puts extra pressure on the back wheels, and the bank gives away and down you go.
that was Ian McGregor.
McGregor and Lee Cutworth also went over the bank and all. And I think there's one more.
That one there was at the #1 stockpile.
Yeah,
That was Ian.
yeah.
Did they get it back up?
Yep.
There's the people.
So Federico, yeah. Would he get?
I don't think those guys got any raises that year, did they?
They got an award at the party. Stand up and take it.
There's a great big rock under the front end, and just let me see if I can go
Malcolm
back.
Anderson, yeah.
Yeah, there we are, trying to.
No, I haven't seen these pictures before. But,
These are courtesy of Ross McCarthy.
yeah. Yeah, well, I'm at Anderson.
That's a beautiful picture, that.
He's a shuttle operator.
Comment. Yeah, this is our Phoenix bird, which we entered in the Fall Fair Parade, but we had a fellow, I think he was from Yugoslavia, in the repair shop, who was very talented sculptor, actually. And I had to control him into making it, but I said, we have to make a Phoenix bird. And I finally got him to do it, and that was the result. I think it's quite remarkable. It's still on display in Greenwood, as you know. I guess you all know the myth of the Phoenix bird. It rises from its own ashes. And of course, Granby, and the mine has done that once, and we're waiting for the next one now.
Oh, that's lovely.
Was this the time you entered the Phoenix, or was this a separate?
I don't know if this was the first time it was entered or not. We entered it in the parade down here. I think it would frighten a few people because it was quite big.
That was the first time we entered it.
And the wings were flapping a little bit at that time.
We had a propane torch underneath it, and we light it up every so often while it was going through the parade. Big flames.
Now there's a whole series of people pictures here, and if you see yourself in a photograph, will you stand up so that we can see you too?
I thought I saw Tom Keel come in.
Keo.
Tom Keel. No, you got it, back there. Okay. Petro's no longer around here, and Tom is gone, and Nick, I think, is gone too.
No, you think he did the whole folks he lived with.
He's around? Oh,
No,
yeah.
no, he's not, no, no.
Where is he?
Nick Fairview.
Oh, Bill, stand up.
Hey, Bill, where are you?
Bill, tell us your story.
Okay.
Hey, Rod, stand up.
Well, Matthews, you're here somewhere. Stand up. Okay. Okay. I think you're the only one here on that slide,
That's good.
Ronnie. Nobody else is here from that picture? Well, I'm just going to point out that these are the members of the mine rescue team, and this is taken in 1975. And I have a picture of the team in their working costume, shall we say, their coveralls,
I
whatever.
think it's the next one.
And yeah, this picture here on the left-hand side, I have a copy of that for the members of the team. And this is 1975, but in 1976, they went to Nelson and competed in the provincial mine rescue competition, and they won first place. So they did a wonderful job.
Good for them.
And there's other guys too, who never show up.
Were they ever called into action at Phoenix?
No. No, fortunately, these pictures were taken at Phoenix, but of course this is all staged for the competition in 1975. But Phoenix was known as the safest small mine in BC. We never had any real serious accidents. Got called for mine rescue team. Now the guys in the lower picture there, man on the left, I think is MacDonald, he's from the Department of Mines. Then there's Ron Matthews, Paul, and Eddie, and Chuck Chinelli, I guess, put it on there. Debbie Johnson, yeah, and these fellows here were on the mine safety committee, and what they're holding there is the plaque that was awarded every year to the safest mine in the province, and our name was on there about half the time. So it was a very safe operation. Well, that's Dave Clare, that's question mark there.
What's
Dave Clare. And a couple of alcoholics in that show. Paul Jones, Oscar MacArthur, myself, and Dave Crumlin, I guess. Yeah.
seen Dave
Yeah, this is a high level conference going on here.
There's a series of pictures from that conference.
That's
So
Tom.
Bill, that's you, right? That's you?
That's him.
And who is that next to you?
Tom Brandel.
Oh,
Oh, Ken Neighbor, for goodness sake. Selma Romo.
Yeah, Salvo.
This picture was taken at Selma Romo's retirement party.
Oh, John David's birthday.
There's some of the old employees there.
Oh, there's Victor.
so that's all the photos we've got. What I'm going to do is, when we turn the lights on, I'm going to move the computer over behind me, and we're just going to set it running continuously, so you can come and look at them with whoever you wish and tell whatever stories you want. If anybody has any stories while we're all still sitting here and they want to come up and tell them, I can go back to any particular picture, or you can just come and talk. A few notes before we turn the lights back on. At the back table by the back doors, we've got several copies there of free books to give out. One is Exploration in Mining in BC in 2004. Another is a copy of the BC Liberals mining plan for the province. And then there are a bunch of calendars, 2005 calendars, with nice pictures of exploration and rocks. So please help yourself before you go. There are lots. Yes?
I got a question. If you stand on the road and look at the Phoenix mine, on the right-hand side, 2/3 of the way up, there's sort of a shelter with a tree growing on top of it. What's that all about? Not that I can go up there and see it anymore.
I think it's old cat house.
It's a
Is that an old cat house?
cat house.
Or plastic shelter?
A blasting shelter is what they're saying.
The tree grew afterwards.
Then I have a story I'd like to tell.
Okay, Helen has a story. She's going to come up to the mic.
This is a true story, and it was stolen from, or taken from Rose Gobeel, so I have to give her credit. And she used to collect stories from everybody, and the person that gave her the story might be in the room, but he never, ever, ever told his name. And it took place when Phoenix was in its heyday, probably around the 1910 era. And this young family had already settled in Phoenix, but the lady's sister and husband came out from Ontario. He got a job. They left the kids in Phoenix with their sister and went back to Ontario to get the furniture and so on. Well, this young man, little Willie, the cousins from Ontario just did nothing but put down BC. The ladies in Ontario were prettier, the horses were sleeker, and the boys could spit farther, and there's nothing good about BC, but Ontario was great. Well, one night, little Willie heard his father say to his mother, "Boy, they sure got fast women down at the Brooklyn Hotel." Okay, so Willie took his two little cousins down, little boy cousin, little girl cousin, down to the Brooklyn Hotel, and there just happened to be a ladder out back, and they could hear laughing and talking and music in this room. So Willie leaned the ladder up against the hotel up to this room, and he climbed up. And I hope I don't offend anybody with this, but I'll tell it the way it really happened. And he looked in the window, and there on the table was a black lady, stark naked, except for a long string of pearls. And she was dancing to the phonograph while people clapped and so on. So he had a look, and then he let little Mary have a look, and then his other little boy cousin Tommy said, well, you think I could get up there too and have a look? So he crawled up the ladder and looked in the window, and just as he looked in the window, this lady stared straight at him. And he scrambled down, and they all ran for home, and they swore they'd never tell. And he didn't tell until he told this story to Rose Gobile. So that's a true story about the old Brooklyn Hotel.
Jack, did you want to come up and tell us a bit of an overview about some of the other things that are going on in this area around the province?
I'll just do it off. I had some notes made, but I'll try it off the top of my head. There's a tremendous amount of mining action again in British Columbia, and I hope it's going to continue. There's just a lot of things happening. There are about 13 mines either in the process of permitting or getting close to that. Now, there's at the Huckleberry mine in the northwest central part of the province, they found a new discovery alongside the old mine, and it looks like that's going to be developed. Just north of that is the Rupert Steel property, and they're pulling good holes from there, so that's encouraging. The Teck Cominco, as you know, have made a lot of money on coal and copper lately, and I understand that they're going to be enlarging the pit at Highland Valley. I'm happy to say that I worked on the original survey lines up there for Cominco before the mine started. In fact, we slept right on top of the ore body. Gibraltar mines opened again last year. That's up at MacLeod Lake, north of Williams Lake. Mount Polly has got new ore and high-grade copper ore with good values of gold. That's scheduled to open sometime this year. And there's just so many things happening that I just want to take a few minutes to tell you about that. But locally, we've had quite a bit of action too. I did just a very rough calculation, or estimation, I should say. I believe there was about $3.5 million that was contributed to the economy here in the Grand Forks boundary area last year. And a few of the things that were happening was the Gold City was working up in the south of the Phoenix area. It's now called Merit Resources. I understand that they're trying to get a deal going for this year or next year. We'll just see what happens. They're increasing their reserves. At Nipple Mountain, there's some industrial minerals taking place, some building stone, and they're using some of the volcanics up there for making bricks. And of course, there's John Kemp's winter property, that's Corey at Phoenix, and there's our dolomite operation. We have Cantech Minerals and Cougar Exploration that's been working at Franklin Camp, and there was quite a bit of drilling going on in Christian Valley on the old Bernata claim. People who might know that near Canyon Creek. And so there was things happening all over. There's a lot of other things scheduled for this year. So it looks pretty good, and I think we better keep our fingers crossed that it just keeps on going, because it's sure helpful to have this happening again in British Columbia.
Now, before I forget, somebody asked me before, Al, wait, where are you? Where's Al? Do you want to come up and ask your question here about power?
Thanks, Linda. I've been intervening in the power hearings in British Columbia here the last few years, and Fortis is considering major changes in the boundary in the possibly not too distant future. And I was wondering, does anybody know what the substation size was up at the Phoenix mine in the 70s there?
Like to hear on this.
Yeah. Okay, I'll talk to some of these guys then.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul Wilton, did you want to come up and talk to us about some of the things going on over at Nelson with the chamber?
Oh, I don't need to go up there, Linda. I just wanted to mention to the people here that there are a couple of events coming up in the near future with the Chamber of Mines in Nelson that some of you might be interested in. First of all, on March the 12th, which is a Saturday in the evening, we're having our annual banquet, Chamber of Mines banquet. It's open to the public and to anyone here who's interested in coming over to Nelson for it. It's at the New Grange Hotel in Nelson, starting at, well, the happy hour starts at 5. The cost is $30 each. Committed to be there that evening is Pat Bell, who's the Minister of State for Mines, and also Jeff Freer, who's the Assistant Deputy Minister. John Chapman is going to give his almost annual speech about the developments at the Willa property near Silverton. So there'll be a number of interesting discussions that night. In the afternoon prior to the banquet, I believe the time is from 1 to 3 at the Chamber of Mines office in Nelson. Pat Bell and Jeff Freer will be there for sort of an open forum so people can discuss with them any topics of interest concerning the activities of the government, government regulations and so on. It'll be sort of an open mining forum with those two political people there. So that's Saturday, March the 12th, and then we're also going to put on another prospecting course in Nelson starting on April 18th, the week of April 18th. It'll be one of these very concentrated courses, 5 consecutive evenings, starting on April 18th, Monday through Friday, followed by an all-day field trip on the Saturday. And again, that's we haven't set a fee for that or had any sort of detailed planning of it, but those are the dates. If you're interested, you can keep in touch with the Chamber office in Nelson, Mark Dennison. I can give you further details on that. That's all, Linda. Thanks.
I just realized that we must have skipped through a slide here. There's one, and I'll try to go back and find it, of the shovel moving through Greenwood. There's kids swimming in the swimming pool as the shovel moves down the street. While I find the slide, can you tell us why?
See the slide.
Well, that's as big as I can get it right now. But where was it going?
Somebody went to the bar.
Do you know where it was being built?
Oh. I assume things that there was the contractor McKay shovel when he was leaving and having to take over the own mining operation.
Okay.
What was that again?
Okay, the contractor, original mines. Ivan K. from Greenwood. He brought showed up, he's probably on his way up to Phoenix.
If anybody's interested in the early days, the museum does have a book available called Phoenix Times Remembered. for $15. We've got one copy of it over here. There's a number of other things that you can look at on the walls or on the table.
Don't forget the membership.
There's our next meeting. It's going to be on April the 4th at 7 p.m. here. We have a guest speaker coming from Cranbrook, the regional geologist, Dave Grieve. Is going to talk to us about exploration highlights in the Kootenay boundary last year. New members always welcome. We never turn anybody away. Finally, we have a website, which if it's not up and running, it will be shortly, www.boundarymining.com, so that'll have all the information about our upcoming meetings. We do have Boundary Mining hats for sale at the back, $12 each, and we're taking memberships. Any of our existing members, the 2005 dues are due $20 for the year. We always take new members. We have refreshments available, coffee and juice here, complimentary. Please help yourself just in the hallway. And we'll be opening the bar up for a cash bar. But because it's the Legion and Ron Matthews has agreed to sign us in as a private party, it's essential that you sign in as you go into the bar. So if you're going to go over into the other room, you have to sign up at the counter. All right, we're going to turn the lights on, but before you go away, if you worked at Phoenix, will you come up to the front so we can take some photographs? Thanks.
George, can you move in a bit more? on, bunch up. Come on. Is everyone on the end? You can get the way in. There, that's it. There, now we got to, Paul, you gotta move in some more. Please still terrible.
Actually, that's one.
That looks like a driving challenge, right, with their websites.
That one that was right over the bank?
Yes.
I know the guy, he was telling me about it, I couldn't really see it, I saw the picture, I'd never seen it before. It scared him pretty good.
I would be. I have a quad. This winter when we were out hunting, that's my family. I take off one way, they go the other. My wife go all the time. Boys, their dad, they were hunting. So anyway, I got my quad.
Their agreement ran the line for 20,000 and he sold it back.
I read that. It's just the time.
Hey everybody, the bar's open. If you want to go over, just make sure you sign in, please, if you go next door.
Big then. I hope that shovel up.
Okay, that's the P&H. What does that mean?
That's P&H is just a make of the, what the heck is it called? I can't remember now.
Yeah?
Just, actually, there's me standing on top of it. That's a big rock in a bucket of the loader.
That's
Right, actually could have been snow too, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now that, I mean, that's a monster truck.
That was 35 ton. Now they make them 250, 300, 400 tons.
So what happens when somebody snatches a truck like that? What happens next?
They have to go in front of the safety thing. There's an investigation into the accident. There can be they can be reprimanded for it if they're at fault. There's a procedure put in place, and that type of accident probably doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Or they try to prevent it, and then they fix the truck.